Okay, this is going to be another test for my new cell phone, and there's a reason why I did not edit this video. So this video is going to be a video response to Wampire's question about old school boxing. And when you hear people say about old school boxing, it'll be fighting this way. So if you're going to do it inside, it'll be this. And you're seeing that, or if you're familiar with that, you've watched that from old movies or old TV shows from way back. And the question that Vampire asked was, why do people in the old times do old school boxing? And if it's so effective, why is it not being used by modern day standards or modern day people now? Well, I can only give a theory, or at least a few theories about that. The reason why old school boxing, I think, was so effective during the old days was because the old times were really dangerous, and fighting is common, and there's constant danger in your everyday life if you're living during that time, in that period. So whenever you come across with a person that has a fighting stance, for example, it doesn't matter what kind of fighting stance it is, it becomes intimidating. So if you see a person do this, it's really effective in scaring the heck out of that other person who's trying to attack you. But there's a huge problem with that. And as time goes on, people realize that by really defending themselves, they found really effective and efficient ways to defend themselves on the streets and out of their homes using bare hand fighting techniques. And that this old school boxing isn't really that effective anymore. And you'll see a whole lot of people in modern times do this motion where it's kind of like natural for people to bring their hands up like this, where their forearm is parallel to the ground, like so, and together with their wrist and their knuckles in line with the forearm, so kind of like that. So instead of doing this. And there are a whole lot of flaws in the old school boxing style, so to speak. First off, if you're going to do old school, you can't twist your fists that naturally. It's kind of like popping your elbow out. So if I'm going to do it here, kind of like popping that elbow, whereas here, it doesn't pop that much. The only thing that you have to do is to concentrate your elbow to stay in line and not flare out to the target. Same thing with your lean hand. Instead of doing this, it takes much time also to rotate if you're going to punch. Whereas here, it takes at least half of the time and effort just to twist that hand. Also, another big flaw of old school boxing is if you're doing this, it's hard to defend actually. Whereas here, if you're using this kind of fighting stance with your hands, for example, where your wrist is in line with your forearm and your fist, they're all in one line instead of this one. It's easy to defend and parry. Whereas here, you can only just do this. All that stuff. You can do a karate block if you want, but I doubt that a whole lot of people knew how to do karate back then using old school boxing. And I think the biggest flaw that old school boxing had, the stance, as opposed with normal boxing or kickboxing, for example, is that if your hands are naturally in this position, you're able to move easily and dodge easily from your opponent's attacks. Whereas if you're doing just this, it's kind of hard and it's awkward because, especially when you're doing this motion to, I think, show your opponent that you're not telegraphing. Because if you're just doing this, it's hard to really dodge, and it's not natural, and your shoulder rather, tire easily. Whereas here, it's easy. You just put your hands on the sides of your face and just move. Whereas here, unless you're really proficient in peekaboo, which I doubt people in the old days are proficient in peekaboo, they have to, I don't know, really dodge a whole lot, or really be proficient in the that fighting style. And I think those are the only loopholes that I could think of if you're still practicing old school boxing. And not to really frustrate anyone out there who's still into doing old school boxing, but the only effective thing about old school boxing style, like this one, is that it's good in intimidation. Not saying that it's not effective overall. I'm just saying that it's not as effective or not as proficient with the modern day fighting style, as you can see, especially with a whole lot of people knowing martial arts now. I think the old school boxing stance is not that good when it comes to reaction time, especially with a person who's really proficient in boxing. And it is good still. It is good because from here you can still do a back fist, or you can still jab with a straight uppercut like this, of some sort. But it's easy also to go down and just do multiple uppercuts to the body. There we go. Now I remember. It's hard to do hooks, which is a natural swing type motion attack for normal people, especially for people who do haymakers. Because here in this old school boxing style, you can only do straight attacks. See? But if you're going to do hooks, yeah, you're going to over twist your shoulder, and at the same time it's not as natural as when you're doing this. At least here, even though you bring your hand here at the back, you bring your elbow up back here, so you do it side view. If you're going to do old school boxing and you do a hook, it's not natural. It makes you over rotate your shoulder, kind of like pulling your shoulder back even more. But if you're going to do it normal, or modern day boxing stance, or kickboxing stance, where your fist, wrist, and your forearm are in one line to the ground, it's normal to do a hook, or a haymaker, so to speak. So as I do it front view, difference, old school, do a hook or haymaker. And then if you're going to do modern way of boxing or kickboxing, just bring your elbow down. Kinda, if you want, you can pull your elbow back, and there's a position already, and just do a hook. It's already in line. The whole fist up to the forearm to the elbow is already in line with the motion of doing a hook. Whereas in old school boxing, you still have to twist. See, there's that problem. So old school boxing is good in punching linearly, whereas in the modern day, it's more proficient when it comes to rotations, but still flexible for you to do linear attacks. And I heard, or read rather, that old school boxing is much safer than the modern day boxing that we do know now. Mainly because you're just hitting the face like this and no one's really hitting the body. That's why a whole lot of old school boxing fights last more than 12 rounds. And the only rule, I think, back then was, aside from not hitting groin, so all of your shots should be above the belt, was that you're going to continue hitting your opponent using old school boxing style and the ring up until your opponent is down. So you're going to continue even though your face is bloody and all that stuff, and you're just going to continue hitting your opponent until one of you is KO or knocked out. Whereas in old school boxing, well, old school, rather modern day boxing, only 12 rounds, and because of the flexibility of the boxing stance, modern boxing stance, you can easily move around, easily evade all of those moves that your opponent throws at you. 12 rounds, and you should knock your opponent out as fast as possible. That's it. And I think that's about it. That's about all of the things that I could think of why old school boxing was efficient back then, and why is it not really being used anymore in these modern times. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this response video to Vampire's question that he tagged me with is at least entertaining. So. And it's morning here, and I'm about to work out my back now, so thank you so much for watching. As always, God bless you all. Always train safe and take care.